Hello, and welcome to Learning Music with Pat. On the last segment, what we did was I reviewed with you the mistakes that you might be making since you're not sitting beside me for me to correct you. And I'm just going to read off those. I'm not going to demonstrate those again this week, but I just want to read those off, and then I'm going to go to these charts and show you more about notes and fingerings and scales and that kind of thing. So let me just read this off. The things that you might make mistakes with: blowing into the instrument wrong, which results in squealing, either puffing your cheeks out, using the wrong embouchure, squeezing your lips too tight, or not tonguing right, or sometimes not tonguing at all. Flattened fingers, wrong hand positions. The fingers should always be curved right over the tone holes. The tonguing, you should be able to tongue everything unless you're slurring, and then you need to know the difference between the two, when to tongue, when not to tongue. I'll be getting more into that later on. Not taking breaks between each note, and the wrong position of the thumbs. Now, I didn't mention that last time, so I'll quickly review the position of your thumbs. Your left thumb always over the tone hole in the back. It's called the thumb hole. It is a tone hole, but it's just made for your thumb. And then, of course, your fingers curved over the front of the instrument. But your right thumb is just doing nothing but being here for balance. You know, there are some notes on some instruments where you don't have any fingers down at all. See, that was a note where I didn't use any fingers at all. Look, bar, no hands. So how do I keep it balanced? It's so easy to drop an instrument that, because larger instruments usually have straps, but a little one does not have straps. So how do I do that? Well, my mouth balances it on one end, and my little finger, I put my little finger down right toward the end of the instrument, and that balances it on the other end, and the thumb is in the back balancing it, which is what it usually does anyway. So if you're playing a note that has no fingerings on it, you have, or I'm not using my right hand and my left hand at all. Well, it would be so easy to drop an instrument, but your mouth is on one end balancing it, your thumb is balancing it, and your little finger is balancing it. And I'm not having any trouble getting that note. I would never start you when you're learning an instrument to play that note, because it would be disaster time. So when people learn notes, what they generally do, and this is why I'm emphasizing the B-A-G-F-E-D. I'm emphasizing that because you learn how to balance an instrument. That's a part of your learning. You don't think about it when you're playing. This instrument has to be balanced at all times. So what would I do? I teach you how to play the B, and the instrument is pretty much balanced by itself, just by that B. Add a note A, add a note G, add a note F, add a note E, add a note D, and then later that low C, which isn't easy to get, but that's the next note, or the upper C, which is it fingered a little different. It's just this note right here. So at any rate, you have to teach people in a way that's easy for them to balance the instrument, and that becomes natural. It seems like an awful lot to learn, because you have to get the mouth right, you have to get the teeth right, you have to have the embouchure right, you have to have your hand positions right, you have to blow it just right, you have to tongue it just right. And there is an awful lot to learn, even in the instruments that are considered to be the simpler instrument. But remember, once you get that learned, it's natural. You pick up the instrument, you don't even think about it. When I pick up an instrument, I don't say, now let me see, I've got to have these three fingers closed, I got to have these closed, the thumb's got to be closed, I got to put it in my mouth, I got to breathe just right. If I did all of that, then I would spend a long time just getting ready to play the instrument. But when you're first learning, that's the way you have to do it, and it does take time. But it gets natural, and when it gets natural, you don't think about it. You just pick it up and you play it. And that's what I'm trying to get you to do, to be able to just pick it up and play it. Now, I want to show you some things on the chart, so I'll put this down for a moment. This is a set of recorders on this chart right here. I'm going to point them out to you. It's a picture that I brought up, that I got from an instruction book. But here is what we call a great bass. I don't own a great bass. I own a folded bass, which is very similar. The only thing is, my folded bass, there is a piece which turns to the left. It gets bent. You know, it goes sideways. It looks a little like a saxophone in that way. But the great basses, they have a little thing called a bocal. It's a little metal piece. It's like a tubing. And you blow in here, and it acts like a mouthpiece. With a folded bass, I didn't bring it. I just had too much to carry. The mouthpiece just curves over on the left anyway, and you just blow into it. It has a mouthpiece that's like this, but it curves over. So that's the bass, and they are big. They are very, very, very large. This is the tenor. The tenor's fairly large too. It has a traditional size to it. It has a traditional way of fingering. There's a couple of little fingering keys down here. You get the soprano, which is down here, no keys on it. The alto, right here, it's a little larger, no keys on it. The sopranino, which I have here, which is the smallest of the recorders. This is the sopranino, and it's the smallest, very high-pitched, but it is a fully functioning instrument. And so you have soprano, alto, sopranino, tenor, and bass, except the folded bass is not shown. These are the recorders, and this is basically what I'm teaching you to play. But everything you learn on it can be transferred to other instruments. Now, this is a scale. This is a scale that we're working on. We're starting not with the lowest note. We're skipping the A, B, and C, which are higher. We're skipping those and learning the ones that you would be using most, going from the D back down to the D. So you have D, E, F, G. When you get to G, it switches back to A. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That is like an alphabet. Then you put it back down, F, E, D, C, B, A, G, F, E, D. Now remember I mentioned the B, A, G, F, E, D. Here it is, B, A, G, F, E, D. But it's over here too, B, A, G, F, E, D. The 6 notes of the scale, but you can't play down like that because we read our music from left to right, just like if you were reading a book. So if you want to play D, E, F, G, A, B, if you're playing this, you're going to do it in reverse, D, E, F, G, A, B. On this part, you're doing it the way that I'm showing you, which is easier for you to read and easier for you to finger, B, A, G, F, E, D. Now you've got to remember, this scale could go up. I could have put an A and a B and another C, and then another C down here and a low C down there, and you would have the full scale of what the recorder can do. But for right now, I want to teach you the easier way of playing so you can just graduate to that later. This is my own fingering chart. We spent a segment discussing fingering charts. This is my own, and what I did was I drew out a little bit like a recorder, what it would be like. These little circles represent the tone holes in the back of the instrument, the thumb holes in the back of the instrument that you can't see from the front. And what I have done here, I have put the staff in, and I've put the note on the staff, and here's the fingering of the note. I've got a new one that I'm going to be using instead as soon as I get to it that's going to be easier to read. So this is your B, and here it is on the staff. Here's your A, and here it is on the staff. And those, of course, are the fingerings for it. G, here it is on the staff, F, here it is on the staff, E on the staff, D, and I put in the C. So that's my form of a fingering chart. There are easier ones than that. Now, I showed part of this to you last segment. Here's a keyboard. Here are the notes on the keyboard. What I added, so I showed you from this up, what I added was all of the fingerings. So here's your C. Here it is on the keyboard, and here's the fingering for it. Now, I did not show the thumb hole in the back, but we're going to assume that all the thumb holes in the back are closed, except for the ones that I've drawn in that are open. So here's your D and the fingerings, your E and the fingerings, and we can go all the way up. F, I didn't include sharps and flats. These are the regular key of C fingerings. And then there are 2 fingerings for an F, depending upon what kind of an instrument you have. I'll get into that. G, right here, and the fingerings. A, right here, and the fingerings, and so forth, all the way up the line. And then what we're working with is B, A, G, F, E, D, and I put the staff the way they are on the staff and all the fingerings, and then I made a little scale here, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then back down again. So this is one of the fingering charts that we can use, and I will be using it on an occasional basis as I teach you the fingerings for the notes. Now, this is just plain scales. This scale is from C to C, and then I added the next octave up. But we won't play that next octave up right away. What we'll do is get up to this octave and then back down again. This is the way it is. This is what you'll be learning, what I'm teaching you, just to get you used to the instrument, and then at some point we'll be playing this. It goes right up. So we have a 2-octave instrument from the C to the C, which is an octave, from the C to the C, which is another octave, but you don't have to play 2 octaves. When you get 1 octave, you can just bring it back down again. And I've marked all of the notes and what they are. See if I can get this. Now, this may be a little bit hard to see. And I don't care if you don't see all of it. I mean, it's not going to be the end of the world if you have a little trouble with it. But yeah, that's good. This is every note that the recorder can play without the sharps and without the flats, starting with the low C, going up to the higher C, which is right there, mid-range C, and going up to what for the recorder is its high C, and every fingering for each of those notes, including the 2 fingerings for the F, both going up and down. Now, I had to make it small in order for it to fit in on the page, but here, if you look at the keyboard, here's your C, and here's your C, and then and this is your C. So you really have 2 octaves here. And you have all of the notes and all of the fingerings to the note. And I want to add the keyboard because I think it's so important. Here's another one. It's a new chart that I just did. D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and then B, A, G, F, E, D, what we're learning, and I'm bringing it down. So I spaced them so I could put the individual fingerings on them. And this is the scale, D to C, back down to D again. That'll be handy. I'm going to make some more copies of it because I just did this yesterday and I need to revise it a tiny bit in order to be able to use it. All of this stuff is important. I'm just kind of introducing you. Well, this is the same one. Let's see, I'm going to skip this. Now, when you're working with a keyboard or when you're working with scales, there are different ways of doing it. If you want to follow the alphabet, right here, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And when you get to a G, you switch back over to the A. So you have A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Then switch over to the A again. So we don't have a key of H. We don't have a key of I or Z or J, and it's not because those notes might not exist. We can't hear them. Now, there are animals that can hear a lot more than we can hear. They can hear tones that we can't hear, but it has to be based upon what we hear, what we can actually hear. So when you play up to the G, you don't go any higher, really. You go higher, but it's an octave of notes that have happened before. That's just the way that it works. If you go from C, and a lot of us do, would be about like middle C, it's in the middle of the instrument, C, D, E, F, G, and then what happens when you get to G, you switch to A, B, C, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and then it goes from C to C to C. I'm tempted to say from C to shining C, but anyway. Then, but if you're starting with A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then switch back to the A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Now, one thing that might be helpful to you in knowing where the notes are on the keyboard, I have two keyboards. They're exactly alike. When you have a set of 2, and another set of 2, and another set of 2, you have 2, then 3, then 2, then 3, all the way up the keyboard. Those black keys are the sharps and the flats. And you have a set of 2, and then 3, and then a set of 2, and then 3. When you see you have 2, the note immediately left of that, on the left, of the first black note is always going to be a C. So this is going to be a C, this is going to be a C, this is going to be a C. Whenever you get those 2 black notes, the black note on the left, right to the left of that, the white note will always be a C. And then all you have to do when you get to a C is go 2 below and you get the A, B, C, just like the alphabet. If you want to do it another way, you have a series of these 3 black notes, 3 here, 3 here, 3 here, all black notes. The one that's to the left of this first black note on the right is always going to be an A. And 2 away, A, B, C, C, B, A. It's a good way to remember it. 3 notes, and the white note to the left of that first black one is A. 2 notes, and the first white note to the left of that first one is C. And then you can always judge where you are on the piano, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Now, let's see. I'm just showing you some basics here. Here's another fingering chart that I made up. B, A, G, F, E, D, and I added that C. These are the fingerings. We'll go over them one by one as we are learning how to do them. This is a good handy little fingering chart. And this is the second fingering for the F if you happen to have a Baroque instrument in which you need to have that change in fingering. Now, what I've done here, these are the basic notes that a recorder can play, including the sharps and the flats. So if we were to go to the lowest part, this would be D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A, B, C, C sharp, and D. Now, starting with the C going down, C, B, B flat, A flat, G, F, E, E flat, and D. These are the notes that we would be learning. So this is a handy fingering chart too. And you can always look and see what the note is. This is your left hand on top, these 3 notes, and this is the right hand would be on the bottom if you are using those notes, which you are over here. So it's just handy to know what to do with a fingering chart, how to reach it, how to read it. Let's see, I want to get this. I just wanted to show you this. This is the flute, a fingering chart for the flute going from the high C to the highest C. And you can see how high it actually goes. Those lines are called ledger lines. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. That's the flute. Now the recorder can play this one, but it can't play any higher than this. So the flute plays an octave higher than what the recorders can play. And I just want you to see how high that actually is. This is a treble clef. That way that is marked, that's all a treble clef. And most of the woodwinds are actually playing off a treble clef. Now let's see. I have made a whole fingering chart, and I won't have a chance to use it today, so I'll use it next time. Here's a whole fingering chart on the notes that you'll be learning. And in order to do this, I have a keyboard, I have the scale, and I have pictures of the recorder which I drew, the back side of the recorder where you have that thumb hole, and the front side of the recorder where you have your tone holes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The sixth one is two separate ones, and the seventh one is two separate ones, and the reason for that is to help you play sharps and flats, and that's the way it is. Not all instruments have that. Some of the instruments just have one hole and one hole. Some of them have one hole, but two holes up here. They're designed in a little different way, but basically there's 7 holes in the front and 1 in the back. And this is the low C, and this is a higher C, but not the total high. The recorder can play an octave above that, but we're not going to do that until the basic notes are learned. And then what do you have here? B, A, G, F, E, D, and then the low C. Now I am going to stop it here because we are running out of time. So the next time that we meet, what I'm going to do is the entire, say at least one octave, maybe the entire fingering chart for the recorder, one note at a time, and showing you what that note actually is on the recorder, and every note has a different chart. This is the A, and this is the way you play it, and this is the way that it's on the staff, and the tone hole and back has been covered. So I want to go through a whole octave like that with you so you can really see what it's about. And then we're going to start playing some exercises and some songs, things that I've written out. I'm ready to do another recording session on that. So we'll get started with this and continue with this next time. We've run out of time now. Please join me next time.